Ma'am, you need to set your camera because we are not able to see you properly because your face is not visible to us.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, ma'am. Please be a little bit louder so that. Ma'am, you're not properly visible to us.
Switch.
देख नहीं रहे हैं मैम properly.
Dipali, is it better now?
No, we are not able to see you properly, ma'am. Now we can see you. Now we can see you.
Okay.
Ma'am, please set your camera a little bit up so that your whole, face could be visible to all of us.
Yes, just give me 1 second, I'll do
Yes.
that.
Yes, sure.
Is this better? I'm so
Yes,
sorry, I'm
ma'am.
not sure if your angle is fine or
No,
not.
it's okay. No issues.
Dipali, is this better?
No, ma'am, you are not visible.
Okay. Just let me know if this works fine. I'm trying to adjust my position.
अभी करते हैं रिकॉर्डिंग है ना हम अभी मैंने रिकॉर्डिंग कैंसिल मैम प्लीज़ आप अपना कैमरा थोड़ा सा ऊपर कर लें बिकॉज आपका ना सिर्फ हाफ मीन्स वी आर नॉट एबल टू सी यू द कंप्लीट फेस थोड़ा सा बस कैमरा आप अपना अप कर लें
अच्छा
uh,
Dipali?
हाँ नाउ इट्स फाइन मैम यस नो बेटर ना
Okay,
हाँ
so I
फाइन
am
फाइन फाइन
holding my
मैम
camera
okay okay okay
works.
okay 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 so ma'am shall we start the session formally
Yeah, I'm good to go.
okay ma'am just let me रिकॉर्डिंग स्टार्ट करना है अभी स्टार्ट है अच्छा ठीक है हो जाएगा ना ये रहा इमेज है ना शेयर हो गई है okay so good morning to all of you. I'll start this session with the famous quote by Mark Twain: "The secret of getting ahead is getting started." I, Dipali Saini, Assistant Professor in Department of MCA in IIMT Group of Colleges, Greater Noida, welcome you all to one of the enriching guest lecture session by our esteemed guest, Ms. Tanima Bhattacharya, for the topic Innovation in Enterprise Content Management with Robotic Process Automation. Before we dwell into the session, I would like to introduce our knowledgeable guest with all of you. Her name is Tanima Bhattacharya. She is working as an IT analyst in TCS Noida. She holds the degree of BTech Honors in Electronics from Gautam Buddha Technical University, Lucknow. She is a university rank holder in year 2013. Just after her graduation, she joined Tata Consultancy Services. Currently, she is working, as I've already introduced you, as an IT analyst at Noida location. She has extensively worked as a software developer. She is a CSM and ITIL certified professional. She has a vast, rich experience in life science domain. She has worked extensively with clients like Johnson and Johnson and other leading pharmaceutical companies. So, before I welcome you, ma'am, for the session. So, I'll hand over you the session now and request you to please start the session, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Dipali, for the wonderful introduction. So, hello, guys. I hope all of you are doing very good in these tiring times of the pandemic. And I apologize beforehand if I am messing up my camera angles at all and if my voice breaks or the internet connection plays havoc. So just forgive me, but I guess we all are dealing with this in the times of pandemic. So, Dipali covered all the good parts about me that, okay, I have done this and have done that. Let me tell you something bad about me so that you can connect with me better once we start the session. So, as you know, that I am from an electronics background. When I joined my company, I literally had no clue as to like what this coding and development part is. So, if I could do it, I rest assured that everybody of you can do it. All right. So, Dipali, are we good to go with the presentation now?
Yes, sure, ma'am.
And if any of you has any questions, please feel free to just ping in or just like ask them on the point. All right. So our topic is innovation in enterprise content management. All right. So Dipali, can you take me to the first slide? Great. Thank you so
Yes, sure.
much. So as the name suggests, electronics content management, right? So everything in this world is nothing but con. Now, for some people, for laymen who are not engineers or who are not into technical fields, might think that content is nothing, but maybe the Word documents or the Excel documents or even the videos that we upload, right, in YouTube. But for engineers, we think of content differently. For us, the content is supposed to be made up of metadata and the actual unstructured part of the content. Okay, so that's the body of the content. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know what a metadata is, but I'll just explain that metadata is nothing but maybe the attributes of that entire content. Now, for like as I'm talking about the attributes, we would need an RDBMS system, right, for the metadata part, and for the content part, we might just need, say, even content areas. Uh, is somebody having any questions? Okay, I guess that's just background noise. So
Yes, just
we
wait.
talked about content. Now our point is that how do we manage that in the enterprise? Now let me give you a we all are praying with folded hands for a vaccine for COVID, aren't we? And we're just wondering that how long this vaccine is just going to come into the market. But can anybody of you tell me that how long does it take a drug to actually come into the market? Like what is the lifespan or the time invested in developing a drug? Does anybody has any?
Tanima, ma'am. Ma'am, am I audible to you? Ma'am, please speak something. I think you are not audible. Mute. Okay. Okay. Wait. Wait. हाँ जी 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 जी
Yes, I'm back again. Am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am, please.
Okay, somebody put me on mute. I'm not sure how that worked. So, like I said, that would anybody like to give me an answer that how much does it take, how many years does it take for a drug to the market? All right, I'll take this silence as
The
no.
total lifespan
So
is
it
for
usually
around
takes.
years, ma'am.
Hi, yeah, please continue. I could not hear you.
The total lifespan is continues for 10 years, ma'am, until it comes into production and then it is accepted by the people and the immunity system of a person. It gets developed according to any pharmaceutical. The medicine it is consisting of the vitamins, minerals, and mostly it's about salt. So to get our body adjusted to that, it takes around 5 to 10 years for a single drug to come into production on a mass basis.
May I know who is this?
Ma'am, Arunesh Ankit, MCA department.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Arunish, for your feedback. So, yes, whatever you said is right. I'll just add to it. It actually takes 18 to 20 years for a drug to come into the market. And like you said, there is a whole life cycle for it. It starts from developing a compound for the drug, then it goes through non-clinical trials, then clinical trials, then marketing authorization, and finally, pharmacovigilance to check if it's actually suitable for our body and there are no adverse effects. Okay, so leaving that aside, now you can understand for something so huge and so gigantic, what is the kind of documentation and what is the kind of compliance is needed. Do I make sense over here? Now, all the companies that are working for these drug developments, all the companies that are working for this vaccine needs to put in an extensive documentation that goes through various process. Now, the question comes, is it worth to put in so much of manual effort? And when I say manual, I do not mean that signing of paper documents. When I say manual, I mean opening up your laptop or computer, creating your documents, and just adding in words, etc., etc. This is what I mean by manual effort. Now, that is where our RPA comes in. Of course, there are many automation tools in the system, but RPA is one of them because we are going to discuss about them in this. So, what is RPA? Most of you must be knowing that it's nothing but robotic process automation. And in the millennial world where we are always talking about bots and chatbots, this comes really handy for all of us. So let me give you a brief example as to how this RPM works. Before I start, anybody has any questions for ECM? I just wanted to give you a background that what enterprise does, and this latest COVID vaccine seems to be the best example for it. Any questions?
Nothing as of now, ma'am.
Okay. So, Dipali, could you take me to the RPA slide?
Yes, please. Is it visible?
It's visible now.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you
Okay.
so much. Okay. So we talked about RPA. Now, in layman's language, it's robots, it's bots. Even like in all the online shopping yoners, Myntra, Amazon, you have bots right now. So you don't need customer care executives anymore because you have bots to do that job. Okay. So since we're talking about RPA, I'll just give you a background that the various RPA tools that are present in the system, it's UiPath, it's Blue Prism, it's Automation Anywhere, and most of them have a free trial, that is 30 days free trial. So anybody of you can download it in your machine and you can just automate all your routine work. Okay, so now the point is, how do I inculcate this RPA into ECM, and not just ECM, but into various walks of our life? So, see, there is a hell lot of manual activity, and we all know that we hate doing that. And we so wish that somebody else could have done that for us, while we could have invested our time, say, as engineers, to something more productive. What we engineers are doing is that we're creating these bots who would take over all the manual. So I'll again go to the example of drug development. Now, the scientist, instead of investing a lot of time in, say, creating Of course, they would have to create the document, but instead of filing those documents to regulatory authority in a system or doing the formatting, we have a bot in place who would do all the activity so that the scientists can invest in inventing things like vaccine, and engineers like us can invest in developing bots or invest in innovating things. All right. So can we move to the next slide?
Yes, sure. Is it visible now? The next slide.
Not yet to me, but is it visible to
Core,
everybody else?
kindly
I
acknowledge
am
any one
still
of
on
you,
what
please.
Yes,
is.
ma'am, it is visible. Core functionalities of
Core
RPA.
functionalities of RPA.
Okay, so unfortunately, I don't see the slide, but since I've created them, I will tell you about it. So the core functionalities of our like RPA. So what RPA does, we know that they are robots and they are bots that have been created by engineers. So say I'm a user and my requirement is that I have created a document on a COVID vaccine and now I want to file it and submit it to FDA. You guys know what's FDA? They're like it's the Food and Drug Administration for US. Similarly for EU, it's MHRA, and for India we have such regulatory authorities as well. So what I do, I log into the computer and I interact with the bot. The bot takes in the requirement that, okay, Tanima wants to send this document to FDA and she wants that the document should have the font of 20 Calibri and say 15 Arial for the headings. So I do nothing. The engineers have already created the bots. The bot takes it does all the formatting that it needs, and then it sends it to the FDA. So the core functionality is your bot interacting, all right? Your bot interacting with your user, then it doing its own work. That is the kind of work that it's been designated to do. And then finally providing the output. So this is basically an outline of how the RPA is supposed to work. Are we good for this slide? Do you have any questions? Um, I guess then we can move to the next slide.
Yes, ma'am. Tanima, we will take the questions later at the end of the session. I think that
Oh,
would be better.
absolutely. That's
Okay.
totally perfect. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
let's move to the next slide. Hello. Are we still on the next slide? I can't see it yet.
We are
Yes,
on the how
Can
to
Tanima.
set
someone
up
confirm?
bots.
Yes,
Okay,
Tanima,
great.
the
You
attendees
guys are
can see the how to set up the bots.
Yes, perfect. Thank you. I guess there's a lag on my end. So we'll talk about how to set up the bots. So the first is programming the bots. Now, this is the best thing for the CSIT guys. I don't know how many of you are here CSIT or NC, but this would be the absolute utopia for you. We are just addicted to programming and doing all the work that we want, right? So the first thing is we can we can program our bots. So it can be done in various languages, for example, Python, etc., etc., and all the other new AI languages that have come into place. And of course, the age-old Java. But I guess Python is the most easiest version. Now comes the graphical user interface. So, like the best thing about RPA is that it does not require extensive knowledge about your, what should I say, about programming. So, if you're a BTech in mechanical and if you want to do something in IT, RPA is the thing for you. You just need to be good with your knowledge, not just knowledge, you need to be good with your logic, you need to be good with your mathematics, and you're all to go with the RPA thing. sorry, I guess I lost my voice. So, okay, so graphical user interface. So that's what I talked about. So if you ever get a chance to download any of the RPA tools, you would see that there are like various parameters to create your logic using the graphical user interface. So you can create your logic and do not use extensive programming skills. Next come recording macros. Now, this is another blessing in disguise. Now, you all have smartphones, you all have worked on Excel. So we know that there is a macro. So what macro basically does is that it records everything. Say in smartphones, you can start doing recording by screen record. So say that there is an activity. The activity is that Tanima has to log into her computer every day. She has to create a notepad file. She has to enter her name and other parameters and enter all the work that she has done and then log off from the computer. But Tanima is too lazy to do all of that work. So she would do what she would do is that she would do the work the first day and then she would deploy the recording macro from the artificial intelligence or the RPA tools and it would record. So the next day, I would not have to do anything, but the bot would do the entire same thing for me. It's just like you are recording, you're creating a video for the bot, and then you're telling the bot, okay, you need to do this the next time I log into the computer. Then comes the self-learning bots. Now, this is the most extensive and the most, what should I say, the boon into the artificial intelligence sector that we have self-learning bots. Now, I don't know how many of you have used Alexa. Like, you know that how she works. Like, you tell her something, next time she would actually enhance on that. So, Alexa is one such bot. You feed her something, next time she would use the information that you gave to improve herself. And let me give you one another very nice example. A few months back, there was a rumor that Facebook had set up an artificial intelligence lab. And okay, so a few months back, Facebook had set up an artificial intelligence lab and they had to close it because apparently the bots out there started interacting amongst themselves. So can you believe what kind of a situation that would be? The one that we see in science fiction movies, that the world is being taken over by artificial intelligence. And if anybody of you is interested into this sector, you can go and watch Person of Interest. So it would actually help you culminate the seeds of artificial intelligence in your mind. So you know that how these self-learning bots work. So I guess we're good with this slide. Dipali, can we move on to the next slide, please?
Yes, please. Sure. The next slide is why do we need RPA in ECM? Is this visible?
Okay, it's not visible yet, but
No,
we'll start with this slide. So why do we need RPA in ECM? And we're talking about ECM because our topic today is about ECM. But ideally, the question should be, why do we need RPA in the various walks of our life? Why do we need RCA at all? So the question is that I'll talk about ECM. We know that how huge and how gigantic the data is. I just talked about the life sciences domain, but you know that the same thing works for banking, finance, defense, every single, right? And all these sectors are so much right, relying on compliance, and especially the life sciences domain. We just can't afford to have human errors. It's not like that one day Tanima is feeling very sleepy and she just does a mistake, say a small mistake, and then she tells her boss, oops, that was just a human error and I did it. And what that does in repercussion is that it leads to the loss of millions of dollars. So, like for all these sectors that are so sensitive to error, RPA is a boon because bots do not make mistakes at all. If you have programmed them correctly, then they would never and ever make a human error. And that's the precise reason they are not human, so they won't make any human error. So one of the biggest boon is this. Now, why do we need in ECM? I wish I could have asked you guys the question, but since we have kept it for later rounds, I'll ask this to you later. So come up with your versions that why do we need RPA, but I'll tell you a gist of why do we need it in ECM. Now, ECM caters to many
Tanima
sectors like
ma'am,
banking.
sorry to interrupt you
Yes,
in between.
Dipali.
Sorry to interrupt you in between, but ma'am, if you would like to interact with the students right now, you can. The session is all yours.
Oh, okay, that's great. So, okay, so I'm going to be a main person. I'm going to ask you to tell me why do we need RPA? Just give me one example, just so that I know that you have that thought inclination towards RPA or artificial intelligence. Anybody?
Them to avoid latency.
Is that Arunesh again?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, sorry, Arunesh. I'm going to stop you here. Can somebody else apart from Arunesh give me an answer? I guess Arunesh is a lot into the RPA and artificial intelligence, but I would like somebody else to speak up
Ma'am,
so that
average
I have a broader
intelligence.
perspective of how the students are. Mhm. Sorry,
I would say
I
average. I would
missed.
say average intelligence, not artificial. Please continue.
Oh, no, I was talking about artificial intelligence. The best thing is that we all can have average intelligence and work for artificial. Once we create it, it's just going to take over us. Okay, so
Mm.
is there anybody else who would like to talk about it? Please do not feel shy and do not feel judged. Understand that we are all friends here and we're just discussing how we can come up with automation in our lives or in our sectors so that we end up becoming better engineers or developers.
Yes, if anybody would like to answer the question.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, RPA we need because it refers the software that we can easily program, like on the basis of repetitive tasks and across the applications, right? And RPA also creates and deploy the software robots, which launch and operate the other software. It's reliable for us. That's why we need it.
Okay, may I know who is this?
Ma'am, it's Kamna from MCA department, second year.
Okay, Kamna, that was a wonderful answer that you gave, and whatever you said is just absolutely correct. That it makes our life easy, and that's the precise reason we need it. We don't need any other justification that it does this, it does that. The pretty fact that it makes our life easy is a good enough justification for us to want RPA. Okay. Now, Kamna, let me ask you a question. Like, are you inclined towards any of the programming languages, or like you are more into the other stuff? Like, are you hardcore into coding or into some other parts of RPA? Not just RPA, like other parts of software.
Uh, yes, ma'am, of course, because right now I am looking, but yes, if I get some chance, then I will enhance my skills according to this.
Okay, so what is your best like language? Like, what do you prefer for front end development?
Right now, ma'am,
Yeah, right now or anything like what do you prefer as a software engineer? That okay, I prefer JavaScript, I prefer HTML, I prefer
yes,
CSS for
ma'am,
front end.
yes, ma'am, I
Mm-hmm.
am
Sorry.
currently. Hello, am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah, Kamna, you're audible. Tell me.
Yes, ma'am. Currently, I am working on HTML, JavaScript also, and other like Bootstrap, MySQL on the basis of front-end development.
Perfect. Like you are the intelligent one. So let me give you another example from whatever you said. Now, when you're working on JavaScript, you know that how difficult JavaScript can be. You just miss one comma here, you miss one thing there, the entire layout changes. And then you just invest so much of time looking into whatever you did wrong and then you fix it up, right? So it just kind of takes up a lot of energy and all. The thing about RPA is that you just tell the bot that, okay, this is how is supposed to be, and you are not supposed to make any mistakes. So conjuncturing with whatever you said, it makes our life easier, and it helps us like invest our knowledge and our attention into things that we want to do instead of finding stupid and silly errors in the code that we created. Do I make sense over here?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we face it. If we do,
Yeah.
we are supposing like if we have some like software that we are like Alexa, developer have want to Alexa if we say some code to them, they can easily execute. Then we don't face any error like comma error or semicolon error, right?
True. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
true. And that's what I'm saying, that like as an engineer, nothing can be more frustrating than finding out comma errors and semicolon errors at the end of our codes. But yes, this is
Yes.
just one of the example. Now, yeah, so now let me talk about how and why rather we need RPA and ECM. So now ECM is like huge, it's vast, and we need things like big data, Hadoop to manage all the humongous content that we have in ECM. But the process is that still, even after having so much of automation via like different technologies, there's a lot of manual work. And why there's a lot of manual work? Because ECM usually integrates with user who are not into the IT fields. So it integrates with, say, investment bankers, it integrates with scientists who are like ridiculously intellectual people, but of course, they do not have a flair for IT. Now, say you develop a software and you give it up to them. You like develop a software, front end CSS, back end PHP, blah blah blah, and then you give it up to them, and they like log into it and they encounter an error, okay, which is very common. But the thing is that it's IT related. Now it can be really frustrating for them, right, to encounter those errors and just like trying to investigate them, because that's not their forte. They are made to do clinical trials, they are made to do bigger things than invest into it. So that is where the RPA comes in. Now if you develop a tool that is solely developed to take over their IT tasks and perform it on their behalf, then nothing can be more easier for them. This is just one aspect. Now this next second aspect of it is that in ECM there are various channels, not just in ECM but even in daily lives there are various channels. So once, say, like a scientist submits his submissions to a regulatory authority, then regulatory authority people need to validate it, and if it confirms, then they need to send it to some other patent organization, then they need to do a grant, etc., etc. So this is a long chain, and it actually requires a lot of integration within. So this integration is easily achieved by things like RPA. Okay. And of course, apart from that, there are like other benefits, like it's low on cost, it prevents human errors, there is no chance of network latency, the bot never sleeps, it works 24 into 7, so there is nothing like you have to change the shifts of people, blah blah blah, etc. But this is just a small crux that I'm trying to give you here. Okay, do I make sense on this? If I make sense, then maybe probably we can
Yes,
move to the
ma'am.
next slide.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sure.
Ma'am.
Oh, just a quick question before we move to the next slide. I don't see anything apart from a desktop background though.
Okay, it's a use cases for RPA now, what I can see.
Okay, probably it would come up in
Is
some
this
time.
visible
So
to
I'll
our all
use.
attendees? Kamna, please acknowledge.
Ma'am.
Some
Okay.
use
Yes,
cases
ma'am.
for
Yes,
RPA.
ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Okay, great. Then I guess it would come up in some time. Okay, it has already come up. But before that, I want to have another question. Just forgive me for asking so many questions to you guys. Um, Kamna, Arudesh, you guys are from NCA. So do we have anybody from a non-CSIT background? Do we? Is there anybody? Is
Most of them
that a
are from
no?
BTech, CS or IT. And most of them are from CS and IT, so I don't think so there are anyone.
Okay, so nobody apart from CSIT, like anybody from electronics, mechanical, etc.
Yes, ma'am. From mechanical.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
From
good.
mechanical.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am, from
great,
mechanical.
mechanical guys.
We
Kudos.
were
Now,
waiting.
give me your name so that I can. Yeah, so give me your name so that I can interact with you.
Yes, ma'am. Sumit, BTech,
Okay, Sumit.
mechanical. Yes,
So you
ma'am.
are a mechanical guy. So you are like you have dedicated all your life working on SMDs and BMDs and trusses. Am I getting it
Yeah, ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. And now being a mechanical guy, you know that how important
Salman
the
Khan.
angles and the
Hmm.
structures are supposed like in trusses, how important those are, right? Most of the
Yes,
time we are
ma'am.
just trying
Completely.
using cos theta and sine theta to normalize the truss structures, right?
Hmm. Yes.
You can just say that, okay, ma'am, you're completely wrong and don't try to flaunt your knowledge on mechanical, but I guess this is how it is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me tell you how you use RPA for things like mechanical. Since you are here, I believe that also you are interested in artificial intelligence. So the best thing about artificial intelligence is that it's not just taking over the IT sector. It's taking up all the sector. Okay. So there are a lot of work in mechanical that a robot can do. Okay. So instead of you normalizing the process, of course, there are softwares, but give that work to a robot and you can so that invest yourself into some better things in mechanical stream. Okay. So it's not just that the IT people or the CSIT people need to be worried about RPA. It's even the mechanical and non-CSIT people who can leverage this tool to a great extent. And the best thing, like I already told you, you don't need to be a programming language connoisseur to be able to create a robot. If you have a good knowledge, if you are good at with maths, if you are good with logic, anybody of you can create a robot. And the thing is that this is even trending in the system right now. So if you're good at creating robots, trust me, the companies are going to give you a good compensation. All right, so let's talk about the use cases, which is the most important part. So this particular use case, that is user creation, caters mainly to our ECM, but also it can be used in other tasks. So since I've been telling you that scientists are supposed to create documents and do that in a system, okay, let me give you another brief overview so that it just does not go over your. Now there are different systems like when CSIT guys, you will get into industry, you will realize that software is not just a big pool, but there are small systems, there are small projects, and then you have to take care of those systems. Now, every system has a user, can be a technical person, who can be a non-technical person. Okay. And only those users have the authorization or authentication to work in that system. They, in IIMT, I believe there must be some sort of a portal where you guys log in and you guys do your stuff, but only you guys can log in. I, as an outsider, won't be able to log into that IIMT portal or whatever it is. So who gives me the authentication or who gives me the authorization to log into the portal? Of course, the engineer that created that portal. But do you think, as an engineer, you would be interested, like once you have developed a portal, you would be interested to dedicate your effort towards creating users so that they can use your portal, right? Nobody would be. you would be like, okay, I would invest my energy to create something better than do a stupid task of like creating users. So this is where our first user case comes in. So like the first point tells that many IT departments spend more time than they might like setting up user accounts for new employees, application specific profiles for current employees. Now, the kind of work that ties up a highly skilled talent doing manual repetitive tasks. In addition, some systems don't include functionality to run backend automation scripts. Okay, so like most of the systems are not like you can do some scripting and all the work is like automated. So most of the systems require some sort of manual labor. And a highly skilled employee, they don't want to do it. I don't know how many of you know, but you might have heard that most of the IT employees are frustrated with their lives because they feel that they're not doing good enough work. So when we say good enough work, we are actually implying to this sort of a work. It is good. You are doing a great job. If you do not create users, if you do not give access to people to your portal, then nobody would be able to use them. But the fact that the mere thing is so repetitive, it takes a toll on our mind. So this is where our RPA's first user case comes. For example, say an IT department may have most of the automated system in place for a new user. But say that a user creation requires certain sort of an approval before it can be created. So what our first use case says is that the only thing as a human being you need to do is give an approval, because we cannot rely on a machine to give approval. Do you understand what I'm trying to say over here? Say let me give you an example. Say Kamna has created a portal where IT engineers or guest lecturers like me, Tanima, can enter and put in their PPTs or put in their knowledge sharing sessions, etc., etc. All right. Now, for that, Kamna needs to create an account for me, and I'm not just the only guest lecturer. There can be thousands of guest lecturers. So Kamna would create two accounts, but at the third account, she would say, "Okay, I'm done with this shit, and I don't want to do that anymore." But she would have to do it. Now, second is who would give the approval? Okay, is Tanima entitled to do it? So that is where Dipali comes in. Okay, so Dipali tells Kamna, okay, I know Tanima that she is a guest lecturer and I can approve the fact. Now you go ahead and create her account so that she can put in her knowledge sharing sessions or PPTs in your portal so that other people can leverage it. Now, my RPA use case says that I don't need a Kamna to do my work. She has created her portal, she's done. I just need a Dipali to do the approvals, because we cannot rely on a machine to give. I cannot rely on a bot to say that if Tanima is fit to be a guest lecturer, but Dipali. So Dipali gives an approval, bot takes the approval, and bot creates my account. Okay, and all the functionalities, etc., like informing Tanima on phone, or maybe informing Tanima on email that her account has been created and this is her login credentials, are done by the bot itself. So do you understand what kind of like how much of effort we have saved here, which is huge. um do you
Yes,
guys
ma'am.
agree on this one? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
now, okay, I have talked about this. Now I want you guys to answer me that do you think anything negative connotation in this use case? Like, is there anything negative that you could find out the way I explained the use case? Like, okay, Tanima, you talked about the benefits of RPA, but I think that this is a problem with this use case. Can you find out something?
Yes, anyone?
Lesser the amount of human resource.
Sorry, I could not hear you. Could you please come again?
It lessens the amount of human resource.
Ah,
It lessens the
perfect.
amount of human
That's what.
resource he's saying.
Yeah, lesser the amount of human resource. So you may say that, okay, Tanima, you talked about automating, but what about the job that Kamna lost, right? We hear in the markets right nowadays, we hear in newspapers that robots are taking up all the jobs and it's like leaving people unemployed. So like you said, that less amount of human resource means cost cutting. So the probably the job that Kamna had for creating accounts has now gone to a robot, and they don't need to pay a robot, but they had to pay Kamna for that. So that is one problem, but that is where the biggest beauty of RPA comes into place. It tells us, the human beings, cannot be stagnated and you cannot be complacent. You have to improve yourself. If you have lost your job to a robot, then ensure that you are so good that you create the next robot. Okay, do I make sense over here?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So let's like move to the next slide. I see that it's already 11:46 and I need to cover these slides and then take up your questions as well. Um, are you guys able to see the next slide?
Kindly acknowledge. It's
Yes, ma'am.
invoice
Yes,
processing.
ma'am.
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
invoice
Invoice
processing.
processing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. Now, invoice processing can be used in ECM. Certainly, it can be used in ECM, but I'm not going to take the example of ECM. Rather, I'm going to take the example of your college. So, Sumit, when you decided that you want to go for mechanical engineering, you must have like told your parents that I want to get into IIMT, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So then your parents said, okay, if you want to get into IIMT, then we need to fill in our application form. We need to fill in a certain amount of fees so that they allow you to study up there, right? So you must have gone to the finance department, you must have filled in your forms, and you must have paid a certain fees. Okay, and that is where your story ended. But from there, the entire accounts department work started. Okay, so like once they received your fees, they had to ensure that they create your roll number, they create your identity, they allot you a particular section, they allot you particular labs so that you can do your work. If you're staying in hostel, then they had to ensure that they provide you a hostel and blah blah blah. The list is long. Okay. Now this is the entire process must have required integration from various departments. Finance should have gotten with like admin should have gotten with the hostel staff, etc., to do the entire liaising just so that they can accommodate you inside an IIMT hostel or into an IIMT college. So the entire thing that worked in between, the use case says that you don't need to introduce any manual labor for it. I'll have a bot and I'll do it for your behalf. You just tell my bot that what you need to do. That is, once you receive the fees from, say, Sumit or any student, you need to submit it to the trust or you need to submit it to a bank account, blah, blah, blah. And my bot is going to do it with entire thing. Okay. So this is just a small part of invoice processing, but invoice processing can be huge. You can go through these slides and like you would get a better idea that how that entire things work. Okay, so do I make sense in this use case? Do you have any
Yes, ma'am.
question? Okay, so let us move to the final use case for RPA. Just let me know once you guys are able to see.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. It's onboarding
Onboarding
new
new
employees.
employees.
Okay, so I can't see anything yet, but since you guys are already seeing it, just tell me like what do you make out from this heading? I'll explain the use case, but you just tell me that since you have heard so much about RPA, you have heard so much about ECM till now for the last 45 minutes. What do you think the last use case is about?
Yes, if anybody would like to share the view.
I'm pretty sure by
Ma'am,
now
it
you
would
guys know more than what I know.
it would say
Okay,
that a
yes, please.
single software will come into action whenever a new employee, let's say, is hired or he is trying to resign, a person is getting promoted over the same designation, or is trying to change from one department into another department, or let's say his invoice needs to be calculated, or his tax needs to be paid, or he is let us say he switched from our company to another company and then wants to come back. So will he be assigned with a new employee ID, or will his old employee ID will be in action again? So if each and everything is handled by a single software, the amount of work from our side will be lesser. The amount of input, obviously, we have to give the instruction, and if the instructions are clear, it will give us a better view that how we can organize the system, the whole operation of the organization in a simpler manner. Let us say that I am sitting with the IT department and I have to put up for the salary for each and every person, but the workforce management sends in that these employees were absent on these days, so the total salary which was to be calculated, it used to be it is to be deducted by this much, and some of the people went for the overtime, which needs to be at the end of the day approved by the team leaders. So all of this, by the end of the month, by the 31st, when the salary is getting calculated, it needs to be exactly on the time. And if there is any difference in the software or the database or the information does not reach on time, there will be a hassle in the calculation. And it's the smallest example of just calculating the salary for what we deserve. And if it is seen on a larger prospect, and if it is working on the MNCs, they are having branches all over the country, all over the continents, all over the world. And if that is being done, in that case, yes. If there is only one software tool which is running the entire operation, it will be a lot easier.
Perfect, Arunesh. So you totally explained it on my behalf. I guess you should have given this guest lecture. I mean, you guys are so like well versed with everything. So yes, whatever he said is exactly the crux of the system. So if I have to sum up this entire RPA in one word, it's like creating robots manual. And these use cases, these are basically for industry. These use cases are something that would pay you if you get into the industry. But that is not where RPA ends. You have free trials of RPA. So say that if you can even automate your regular work. Okay. Say like I am as an IT employee, I have to like daily log into my machine, and the first thing that I need to do is fill my timesheet. You guys won't understand the pain until you get into a software company, but once you get in, you would understand what the pain timesheets are. You have to fill in daily your timesheet so that your salary gets paid on time. So as an engineer, what I can do is that I can tell my bot, I'm done with this work. You better fill in my time every day so that my salary gets paid on time. Okay. So this is the beauty of IPA. Like it can be introduced like almost in every sector of your life, and it just does not have to be an ITA. Yes, it is an IT product, but it just does not confine itself into the limits or into the bubbles of it's just so vast and it's just so well versed. Okay, so this is how it brings us to the end of the session. You guys have been a wonderful audience, and I guess we can dedicate the last 5 minutes to a fun question and answer round. And you can ask me any question. It can be related to ECM, it can be related to RPA, and even you can ask me questions related to industry, like whatever questions you have. Even you can give me a feedback that Tarima, you were too fast and you were too slow, blah blah blah, and you can improve so that the next time you go on a guest lecture, you don't bore people. So the stage is all yours. Shoot your questions.
Why does the
Thank you so
industry
much,
still run
Tanima.
on? Man, I just last question. Why
Yes,
does the
Arunesh,
industry?
just wait.
Yes.
Yeah, students, I would like to open the session for all the students and attendees to have any queries or doubts from Tanima ma'am. Yes, sir. Arunesh, please continue.
Ma'am, I heard that when we started learning in BCA, that the software development cycle, there was around five or four types of software development models. Okay, ma'am. The first one, that the basic one, was the waterfall, and then we had the circular and the spiral and the other models. But when I asked to a few of my friends and even my brother who was the TCS. He told me that even today our software industries, most of them are they're still following the waterfall model. Ma'am, is it like the most reliable one, or have we failed to you see to catch up to the other types of models, because it was the first and the most basic model which we were taught, and even if country is running on that type of model, so I mean, have we, or is that the thing which is going on for a longer time? Why is it still running, ma'am? And it's in so
See,
much of
to
demand.
answer your question, as far as I know, after working for like 6 to 7 years, most of the companies are not stuck to waterfall. Like most of them have moved to agile, and especially in my company, everybody is behind agile. Like they are like go agile, go agile, go. And given the fact that I am a certified Scrum Master, so you can understand that how much I vouch for the agile. But the fact that you have said that why we are stuck to the primitive model, see, every model has its advantages and disadvantages. So just to completely say that the waterfall model is very obsolete would be really unfair. It really depends upon the business use cases. So sometimes the business is as such that you realize that okay, if I implement agile into this, it might not be much output. But if I go for waterfall, it may be better for okay, especially for the short projects, which it's not where it's not possible to have sprints or have use cases like that. So yes, I won't say that waterfall model is very obsolete. It is obsolete, but it's not like it just have faults. It has its own advantages as well. But I guess by the time you guys enter you into the industry, I don't think you would see any of the waterfall anymore. Almost everybody is going agile. Like not just in IT, but even in like mechanical and electrical, all the projects are now agile based. So this brings me to another thing that if you want to build a career in IT and you are not into programming or into coding language, then Scrum Master or agile methodologies is the sector for you. It's booming and it's going to boom further in future. Does that answer your query?
Yes, ma'am, completely. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
If anyone else have any query or doubt or any question for ma'am, please ask.
And you don't have to worry that you just need to ask me questions related to IT. You can ask me any question. Even you can ask me that, Tanima, how do I put up with the mental stress that comes with the IT or that comes with the industry? So just feel free to just come up with your question.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, if we take RP models in our development of skills, then for us because it's in a demand, it is the best model for us for software development, right? But on the basis of human
Um,
perspectives,
mhm.
yes, ma'am. On the
Yeah,
basis
please
of human
continue.
perspectives, is it
Yeah, Kamna, please continue. Kamna, please complete your question.
Yes, ma'am. My question is it completely relevant for a human if we put in our upcoming futures, then it is relevant for us, or it not caused any stress for any software or IT departments persons?
The only stress I can think of in this model is that you create a wrong bot that screws up or
Mhm.
that messes up the entire activity. The bot that was supposed to do good ends up doing bad. And the second stress that I can think of is losing jobs, which is actually real.
Yes, ma'am.
But then I said
Yes,
that
ma'am.
bring
I mean
yourself
it.
to the yeah. But like I said, that why do we worry about losing our jobs to a bot? Aren't we good enough to create them? We are the creators of the bots. So we just don't need to worry. And yes, the bot is supposed to go intelligent. It would even surpass your intelligence. But then at the end of the day, you are the one who is creating it, right? and you just can't have one bot. Automation is applied in every sector of life. So if you're a good engineer, trust me, no one can take up your job.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so anyone else have any question? Okay, fine. Yes, please.
DevOps Citizen Guy
May I know your name, please? Who is there?
was the
Gorvit. Okay, Gorvit from MC department. Yes, please, Gorvit, ask your question.
one is DevOps methodology better than Agile.
Gorvit, you are not
I
properly
can't.
audible.
Ma'am, I'm asking the DevOps methodology is better than Agile.
Web of methodology. This is what I, Gorvit, your voice is not properly audible. Please be little bit louder.
Uh, Garvit, are you saying that is DevOps methodology can be like implemented for the automation purpose? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Okay. So yes, DevOps is booming, and like you said, it's a methodology. So it includes development to support, right? And it's another booming sector. So the best thing about DevOps is that it's not like something cannot come inside of it. Machine learning can be part of DevOps, RPA can be part of DevOps, even your basic C programming can be part of DevOps. But don't tell people that I told you this, that C programming can be part of DevOps. But like I said, DevOps is nothing but it's a methodology, right? And how you move from like development planning to the complete support and output. So yes, to answer your query, DevOps is one of the most booming IT fields, and it includes a vast range of things, not just development, support. It's huge. It has GitHub, it has Ansible, it has RPA, it has automation anywhere. It has almost every single thing that you can probably read or work on IT. Do I make sense? And does that answer your query?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for it. So, if we don't have any further queries, I think,
Ma'am,
yes. Sumit?
hello. I am Sumit from
Yeah.
mechanical department. Ma'am, I want to know that what kind of robot you want for RPA work. I mean to say that what particular functions are required you from the robot side.
Like you're talking about me, like then I would need a robot that does all my work and keeps my mama happy. I would need a robot,
Like
but
what?
that's technically not possible, right? So, what you need from a robot, the answer is in your question. You need whatever is hindering your work, whatever you think that, okay, I don't think I need to invest myself to do this. I can have a robot. Just think robot as your house who helps you with things. So for IT, like Kamna, Arunesh, like Gorvit, they all
Gorvit.
talked about the things that they need in IT for automation and what robots can be deployed for. For you, Sumit, you can tell me better that what you think. Like, is it the hydraulic pipes that you need help with, or is it the SFD BMD calculation you need help with? Like whatever, is it the process you need help with, or it's like the list is vast, right? So whatever you need help with, the robot can provide you help. But the thing is that there's a big but. You should be able to create that robot. The robot can work and function only if it has been created properly. So if you know what you want and you know how the logic flows, and if you are able to create it, then the robot can do almost anything that you want. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So
But
just to
but
add on, like,
but ma'am, I have a list of work that robot can do. But I want particular work that you have in your mind.
Yeah, so like I said, you can have a lot of work, but you need to be able to create it. Say like you are a mechanical guy and you may say that okay, I have a work of doing this, but I don't know how to create a robot. Then probably you can take Kamna's help and you tell that okay, you are the IT giant and this is my requirement. Can you create a bot that does it for me? Can you create a bot that resolves my angles and resolves all the calculations for me? If Kamna says that okay, it's possible for me, I'll do it. And if Kamna says no, it's not possible, then she might just refer it to her senior developer, or she might just straight away say no. So every single thing is possible if you are able
Okay,
to
ma'am.
create it. But yes, if you say that I need a robot that picks me up from this place and flies me to my office or flies me to my college, then that might be difficult, but not impossible. If you can create it, then your robot can do it. Do I make sense? That is where my skills come in. That is where the question comes in. Can a robot take my job? No. If I can create a robot, then everything is possible and a robot cannot take up my job. Does that answer your query?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Tanima ma'am, I had a last question. When you said you started working for around 6 to 7 years, am I correct, ma'am?
Yeah, that's
And
correct.
ma'am, when you specialize, and what changes have you seen for past 7 years? I wanted to know because after this we will be going back to that industry where you have already been. So the changes you have seen, that does any technology change, or does it go according to what's in demand, or does it hire people on the basis of their expertise? How does an industry, a person can flourish over in lesser time? I can either go how everyone say that you got
Okay.
to stick, you have to switch. What can be the best strategy? Should I learn what is going on with the market and demand, or should I go with what I have, or how? I mean, do I have to just wait for get experience and then switch so that the other company will hire me at a better package? How?
Okay, this is a little tricky question, like to each his own. Now, to answer your question, the first and the foremost thing to survive in an IT environment is that you need to be able to adapt. It's you go to the interviewer and you say, is you tell your manager that okay, I have been trained as a Java developer, so do not expect me to work on JavaScript, or do not expect me to work on Python or any other language. If you are going to do that, it's a big no no. The thing here is that you just need to be adaptive. Skills you can learn anytime, and IT is ever evolving. I remember when I was selected in TCS, which is a long way back. I did not even have to give a question. TCS used to hire the toppers, like they never gave written examination for people, right? So they just used to take the interview. So I come from that era, but now TCS, when I go for interviews, so the kids have already qualified for national qualifier exams. You guys must be knowing that, right? Since you are in the like that age. So you give up that
Yes, ma'am.
exam that includes maths, English, and it includes coding. Then you come to us. So, as an interviewer, I do not care a fig about how much programming. I just need to know your aptitude and whether you are able to learn or flex. Because you may be good in like any language, but if you do not have that aptitude and if you're not able to flex yourself and like learn progressively, then there's no point. Okay, so the first thing is that you need to be able to learn, you need to have a good aptitude, and you need to be a hard worker so that you can adjust yourself. Now second is that about your career aspirations. See, now many people have different people have different aspirations. Some people believe in switching their jobs, okay, like after every 2 years so that their package can be increased. Some people believe that okay, I'll stay to my job and I will just achieve the best that is there. The point is, don't be stagnated.
How do we differentiate in that? Do we have to switch? Do I have to stay with this one? Look for the
That
growth.
is
How does
totally
the person at that
dependent.
point? I mean, what
That is
differentiates one
totally
from the other?
dependent upon you, what you want from your life. Do you think that you are not growing here? If you think you are not growing here, then you switch. If you think no, I want to stick to my company, which has been the case with me. I actually imagine myself being the CEO of TCS one day, and TCS has been very kind to me. It has sent me to different countries, etc., etc. So that is how it works. So it totally depends on you, right? And I don't think like there can be a definitive answer to that.
You have stuck with that company for 7 years. How have you seen people? Let's say that a person has switched and the person was there with you for like 7 years and he's still growing. So who has gone further? I want to know this thing in a long run because I haven't seen the future. You have been there. You have seen people with experience for 10 or 12 or even past 20 years. So who has developed more in your eyes, according to you, ma'am? The person who has already been there or the person who has switched after, let's say, a considerable amount of time.
See, like Arunesh, I told you, it's totally subjective. So there cannot be a definitive answer. My definition of success might not match with your definition of success. So the only thing that I can conclude and I can talk over here is that you need to be up to date and you need to be skilled. And if you are that, then you are sure to flourish in this field. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So are there any other
So
questions?
yeah, so I hope that all are benefited by this session, and so Arunesh, I hope you got the answers of your questions, and rest of the students too. So Tanima, it was really a very wonderful and amazing session, and truly speaking, I was thrilled throughout the session. I hope the other attendees too also, and it was really an enriching session and a new learning approach to all of us. Tanima, surely after the pandemic, we would like to host you on, our campus for further such quintessential sessions. And I really thank you. I thank our esteemed guest of honor, Ms. Tanima Bhattacharya, our HOD sir, Dr. N.K. Sharma ji, all faculty members, all students for their, enthusiastic participation and patient learning. Tanima, it's really a pleasure that on a very short notice you have given your such precious time and shared your experience and learning with all our students. Thank you so much, Tanima.
Totally mutual. Like I always say that it's always a breath of fresh air to interact with young talent. And so it has been a great experience. Guys, I hope you have learned from this. Whatever I could tell you, you can use it to the betterment of your future. And please do give a feedback if that's possible to Dipali, and I'll just take that
Yes,
feedback from
sure. Sure, Tanima, sure. Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you,
So I,
Tanima,
I
and thank you
create a
all.
thank you. Yeah. You guys have a good day. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you, and good day to all of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.